Where legends breathe again. Eldmyth. Deep within the primordial forests of Eastern Europe, where ancient oaks stand as silent sentinels and the air hums with unseen life, a legend stirs. It is not a legend carved in stone or penned in dusty books, but one whispered by the rustling leaves, echoed in the creak of old boughs, and glimpsed in the dappled shadows that dance just beyond the edge of sight. This is the domain of the Leshy, the master of the wood and the soul of the wilderness itself. To enter his realm is to step into a living, breathing entity, a place where the very rules of nature are dictated by his whims. The path you walked in on may vanish behind you, swallowed by ferns and shifting roots. The sun's guidance becomes a trick of the light, filtering through the canopy in misleading shafts. The cheerful chorus of birds can fall silent in an instant, replaced by an oppressive, watchful quiet that presses in on all sides. He is the reason a hunter, skilled and knowing, can become profoundly lost mere steps from his own village. He is the source of the sudden, chilling wind that snuffs out a campfire, and the author of the strange, melodic whistles that seem to come from everywhere and nowhere at once. The Leshy is not merely a creature that lives in the forest. He is the forest given consciousness, a capricious and territorial spirit whose mood shifts with the seasons. His laughter is the sound of a babbling brook, his anger the roar of a storm tearing through the treetops, and his sorrow the slow, mournful drip of sap after the rain. To understand him is to understand the untamable, chaotic, and beautiful heart of the wild. The Leshy's origins are as deep and tangled as the root systems of his own domain. He is a being born not of flesh and blood, but of the collective spirit of the untamed land, a conceptual entity given form by the beliefs and fears of the Slavic peoples. His lineage is not divine, but elemental, springing from the same animistic worldview that saw a spirit in every stream, a nymph in every glade, and a ghost in every gust of wind. He is the ultimate genius loci, the spirit of the place, for the entire vast expanse of the woodland. Early depictions in folk tales and embroidered ritual towels, known as rushniki, show him not as a monster, but as a shape-shifting patriarch of the wild. He is the green man of the Slavic world, his image carved into the lintels of peasant homes as both a ward and an acknowledgement of his power. Scholars interpret the Leshy as a profound symbolic bridge between humanity and the indifferent, often dangerous, forces of nature. He represents the chaos that lies beyond the neatly plowed field, the uncertainty that waits in the shadows of the old growth. He is the reason for the successful hunt and the cause of the inexplicable disappearance. His symbolic meaning is dual-edged. He is both a guardian of the forest's delicate balance, punishing those who hunt for sport or disrespect the natural order, and a peril to those who stray too far, literally or metaphorically, from the path of human society. He embodies the essential truth of a life dependent on, yet threatened by, the wilderness. To live in the shadow of the Leshy's woods was to engage in a constant, delicate dance of appeasement and avoidance. The Slavic peasants developed a rich tapestry of folklore practices, rituals, and taboos designed to navigate his capricious nature. Before entering the forest, one would never dare to whistle, for that was the Leshy's own language, and to use it was to invite his direct and often mischievous attention. A prayer was uttered, not to a Christian god, but to the Leshy himself, a respectful request for permission to enter and take only what was needed for survival. Some would wear their clothes inside out, a powerful sympathetic magic meant to confuse the spirit, to make the human appear as something other, something backwards and unappetizing. If you felt his presence, the sudden disorientation, the feeling of the trees closing in, you were advised to sit down, take off your shoes and put them back on the opposite feet. This simple, absurd act was said to break his enchantment and reorient your path. Offerings of bread, salt, or tobacco were left at the base of particularly old or imposing trees, at liminal spaces where the human world met the wild. These were not acts of worship, but of practical negotiation, a toll paid to the toll keeper of the timberland. The air during these rituals would be thick with the scent of pine resin and damp earth, the only sound the cautious whisper of the supplicant and the distant, watchful silence of the woods, a silence that felt like a held breath. One of the most enduring tales tells of a young woodcutter named Peter, known for his arrogance and his wasteful ways. He would take more trees than he needed, leaving stumps weeping sap and clearing wide swathes of land without a second thought. One autumn morning, as Peter ventured deeper than ever before, he found a grove of perfect ancient pines. He raised his axe, but the sound it made was not a clean chop, but a hollow, mournful groan that echoed through the forest. Instantly, the world shifted. The sun vanished, replaced by a perpetual, gloomy twilight. The familiar landmarks were gone. Every path he took led him back to the same grove, where his axe lay embedded in the trunk, now bleeding a thick crimson sap. For 3 days and nights Peter wandered, haunted by echoing laughter and the sensation of eyes upon him. He saw trees that walked, their roots pulling from the earth like legs. He heard the voices of his family calling from the shadows, only to find nothing there. On the brink of madness and starvation, he finally collapsed, tearing his own clothes in frustration and, remembering an old tale, putting them on inside out. As he did, the forest seemed to exhale. The twilight lifted, and there, just a stone's throw away, was the edge of the woods and his own village. He returned a changed man, never again taking more than the forest could give, forever speaking of the Leshy not with hatred, but with a hard-earned, trembling respect. Yet the Leshy was not solely an agent of terror. Another legend, whispered in the northern regions, speaks of his role as a guardian not just of trees, but of the innocent and the lost. A young girl named Anya, fleeing a cruel stepfather, became lost in the woods during a bitter snowstorm. As the wind howled and the cold bit deep, she stumbled into a hollow beneath a great fir tree, its branches bowed low with snow. There she found a wounded wolf pup, its leg trapped in a hunter's cruel iron snare. Though terrified, Anya worked with numb fingers to free the animal, whispering soothing words and sharing her last crust of bread. As the pup limped away, a figure emerged from the blizzard. He was tall as the trees, with a beard of frost-laden moss and eyes like frozen ponds. It was the Leshy in his winter aspect. He did not speak, but pointed a long, root-like finger. A path, clear and sheltered from the wind, opened before Anya. She followed it, and with every step the storm seemed to abate just around her. The path led her not to her old home, but to a distant village known for its kindness, where she was taken in. The Leshy, in his inscrutable morality, had seen her compassion and rewarded it, acting as an unlikely protector and guide, ensuring the balance of mercy was upheld even in his frozen domain. The Leshy's relationship with humanity is further complicated by tales of his own longing and his capacity for interaction beyond mere trickery or guardianship. There are stories, often tragic, of Leshies becoming enamored with mortal women. He would appear at the edge of a village not as a monster, but as a handsome, if strangely pale and quiet, young man, his eyes holding the deep green of the forest canopy. He might court a village girl with gifts of rare berries, inexplicably warm in the dead of winter, or with flowers that bloomed out of season, their perfume intoxicating. If she followed him, lured by his otherworldly charm and his promises of a life free from toil, she would be taken to his domain. At first, it might seem a paradise, but time in the Leshy's realm flows differently. A day could be a year in the human world. The woman would find her memories of her past life fading like a dream, replaced by the constant, rustling whisper of the trees. She might become a spirit of the forest herself, or she might, upon discovering a hidden cross or speaking her old name aloud, break the enchantment and flee, only to find her village gone and her family long dead, her life stolen by the slow, patient heart of the wild. Inevitably, where there is fear, there are those who seek to confront it. Legends speak of hunters, not of game, but of spirits, brave or foolish men who ventured into the woods with silver-tipped arrows and prayers on their lips, intent on claiming the head of the forest lord. These confrontations never ended as the hunters hoped. One tale tells of a boastful nobleman who brought a pack of hounds and a dozen armed men to clear a forest for his new estate. They marched in at dawn, and by noon the forest was playing its tricks. The hounds turned on each other, whimpering and confused. The men became separated, each hearing the calls of his comrades from opposite directions. The nobleman himself found himself standing alone in a silent circle of trees. From the largest oak, the Leshy emerged, not as a beast, but as a giant made of living wood, moss, and shadow. He did not attack. He simply pointed, and the nobleman saw a vision. His own grand hall in ruins, reclaimed by saplings and ivy, the bones of his lineage scattered among the roots. The man fled, his mind broken, and his estate was never built. The Leshy does not merely kill his opponents. He demonstrates the futility of their struggle against the eternal, patient growth of nature. He shows them that their empires of stone and pride are but fleeting moments in the long, long life of the forest. The physical form of the Leshy is as fluid as the light in his woods. He is a master shapeshifter, and his true appearance is a subject of much speculation. Most often he is described as a giant, a man-like figure so tall his head brushes the clouds, with skin of rough bark, a beard of living moss, and hair of long, tangled grass. His eyes can shift from the deep brown of fertile soil to the piercing green of new leaves, and they lack pupils, making his gaze profoundly alien. He is frequently depicted with cloven hooves instead of feet, a remnant of his pre-Christian origins linking him to primal, untamed nature. Yet, he can just as easily shrink to the size of a mouse to hide under a leaf, or take the form of a beloved relative to lure a victim deeper into the woods. His voice is a symphony of the forest. It can be the gentle rustle of leaves, the crack of a falling branch, or the deafening roar of a landslide. When he walks, he does not leave footprints, but the ground itself seems to reshape itself after his passing. To see his true form is said to be a sign of either imminent doom or his great favor, a moment where the spirit sheds all deception and reveals the raw, untamed power that he is. As the world modernized, the dense, primordial forests of Eastern Europe receded, and with them the immediate, tangible fear of the Leshy began to fade. But a spirit of such potency does not simply die. It evolves. The Leshy found a new home in the human imagination. He became a staple of Slavic fantasy literature, a complex character in video games where he is often a powerful, neutral entity in magical woods, and a subject of stunning modern digital art. His symbolism has shifted from a purely malevolent trickster to an emblem of environmentalism, a representation of nature's wrath in the face of industrialization and pollution. He is the personification of the concept that the wild will always fight back. Modern pagans and animists still leave offerings in remaining old-growth forests, seeing in the Leshy a symbol of the world's dwindling wild places. He serves as a potent reminder of what we have lost and what we still stand to lose. The fear he once inspired has been tempered into a species of fascination and nostalgia for a time when the world felt more alive, more conscious, and more mysterious, even if that mystery was sometimes terrifying. So, what are we to make of this lord of the woodland, this trickster, guardian, and shapeshifter? The Leshy endures because he is more than a simple monster from a fairy tale. He is a profound archetype, a story our ancestors told to explain the very real and terrifying power of the natural world. He is the reason the forest feels alive. He is the name for the unease you feel when the path behind you disappears, for the awe that strikes you in a cathedral of ancient trees, for the sense that you are being watched by something ancient and knowing. He represents the fundamental truth that we are not the masters of this world, but merely participants in a much older, grander, and more complex system. The woods he ruled were a place of both sustenance and danger, of beauty and terror, and the Leshy embodied that perfect duality. He reminds us that nature is not kindly, nor is it cruel. It is simply indifferent, operating on rules we can scarcely comprehend, and possessing a patience that far outstrips our own brief lives. He is the soul of the wilderness, and as long as there are shadows under the trees and mysteries in the deep places of the world, the whisper of the Leshy will never truly be silenced. Another legend fades, but the next awaits. Like this video, subscribe and continue the journey through myths.